Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.
Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to unlock growth, streamline operations, and prepare your business for a high-value exit. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today I'm joined by Jason Brown. He's the founder of The Brown Report and Power Trades University. He's a host of the 5-Year Millionaire podcast, a YouTuber with over 80,000 subscribers, and the author of the Amazon bestseller, 5-Year Millionaire, and an overall badass. Jason, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Pete, thanks for having me. I like that. An overall badass. I'll take it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. How about we start out? Do you mind sharing your business journey, Jason? And what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my business journey, when I think about it, it really goes back to, my youth. I was always into making money or trying to figure out how to make money. I remember I would buy like pagers back when people would carry pagers, and if the case got really broken or tattered, they kind of throw them away or give them away. But I found that for like $15, you can buy the case, like the neon green cases, and change them. And then you could turn around and sell that same pager for $40, $50 just by putting a new case on it. So I was always interested in business, and I did some network marketing. I was in a couple of different network marketing companies, which is where I really learned the principles of time leverage, business ownership, residual or passive income, having some type of team, either people working for you, intellectual property working for you, real estate, something else working for you so that you could have some leverage. So that was like my early exposure, if you will, to entrepreneurship. But I kind of fell into it by mistake as far as this business. I was 18 and I wanted to invest because we grew up poor. So I took like $2,000 to a bank, had them invested. Girl asked me, "What's your goal?" It's like, "I want to be rich." It's like, why else would anybody do this, right? And so she said, "You want aggressive funds?" I said, "Yeah, I want aggressive funds." So she took my $2,000. I come back about 3 years later, I'm 21. They pretty much lost all my money. They lost $1,300 of it. And so I'm like, what happened? Like I could have lost my own $1,300. And so I was kind of irritated because it's like, that was my graduation money. So like, I'm not about to graduate again. So where am I going to get $2,000 from? So I took the 700 and I was like, I could do this myself. I'll invest myself. And I spent 200 on some gym shoes. I had $500 left. Yeah, I said, if I lose this 500, at least I got some Jordans out of this thing. And so I took the 200, bought some Jordans. I had $500 left. I'm working for Sprint PCS at the time, Pete. I'm making $8 an hour, so about $64 on the weekend. And when you take taxes out, I made about $50 take home. So I was like, man, if I can make $50 from my investments, I can finally take a weekend off. That's all I wanted to do was earn 10%, make $50, finally take a Saturday off because I had been working since I was 16. McDonald's, Mervyn's, Best Buy. I'd always worked on the weekends all through high school and just never had a weekend off. I couldn't do what all the other kids did. I couldn't hang out. I always worked. And so I bought Sprint stock. Our stock was $5 a share. Sprint, I'm like, break. I'm going to buy 100 shares. Bought 100 shares at $5. Stock started to fall down to $4. I was like, man, this doesn't work. I'm not as smart as I think I am. Stock went back up to $5. I'm like, great. I just need to go to $5.50. I'm going to break even. I mean, not breaking up, make my first $50. It fell back down to $4 again. I was like, this doesn't work. The market's rigged. And then it went back up to $5. And I said, I've seen this before. So Pete, I got out at $5. Stock fell down to $4. I got back in. Stock went back up to $5. I got out. I made my first $100. I didn't know if you drew that out on a chart, it would be called a channel, and stock was challenge between 5 and 4, 4 and 5, 5 and 4. Had I known how to read stock charts, I would have known not to buy at 5 and to wait and to buy at 4. So then I started thinking, what other patterns exist? And I get really good at researching these patterns. And so I took a $10,000 student loan and I invested in the stock market. How do I got really good at it. So I was like, how do I get more money in the machine? I had a scholarship to the Mike Gillis School of Business here in Detroit. I applied for financial aid because I knew they would cut me a refund check. I took the
Hmm.
refund check and I invested it, and I grew it to like six figures as a 21-year-old college student. Fast forward, how did I get into business? I ended up dropping out of school, full-time trading for about 3 years. I run the account up to about 300,000. Year three, going into year four, I risk a quarter million trying to make 500,000. I actually lose it all, blow up my entire account. I had to move back home, sell my car. I'm flat broke. I had to get a job, but I knew the stock market worked. I just had to figure out, what I did wrong. So I was very into personal development, like I told you. And so Jim Rohn was like, take a picture, journal about your journey. And I was like, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to record it. So I started recording my journey, and I started teaching online about what I did wrong in the stock market. And also started doing these local seminars around Metro Detroit about like, here's how you don't blow up your account. Here's what you don't want to do. Here's why you want to pay attention to this or that. And so slowly I started building this following of doing these seminars locally and also sharing my journey online. And then one day we had like a big snowstorm and we couldn't do the seminar locally. And I was like, what if I just did it online? Like, why are we driving all around? And that was kind of like the birth of, or the genesis of building like an online platform. And people started asking me, how'd you know what to buy? How'd you know what to sell? Can you teach us? And I was like, well, people pay me for this. And that's literally how I kind of transitioned into building an online stock market education platform. It was, like I said, totally by mistake, just all out of passion and sharing how I blew my account up and what went wrong and trying to help other people not do the same thing or be better at this. And little did I know there was a business waiting for me.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm a big Jim Rohn fan as well. Yeah, how did so? What were some of the rules or lessons you learned from from losing almost all of your savings?
So a lot of it I talk about in my book, but as you can see from the T-shirt here, I don't know if you'll put this out as video or not, but the shirt says "You never go broke taking a profit." That was one of my main principles that came out of that situation because I risked a quarter mil trying to make 500,000. I was actually up 100,000, but I said that's not enough because it's not 500,000. I wasn't thinking, what if you just made 100,000 four more times? I wasn't thinking that. I was like, what am I going to do with 100,000? That's not enough money. I'll never say that again, by the way. I know exactly what I'll do with 100,000. It's a lot of money, right? But at the time, I was just a little cocky, a little egotistical. And it's like, what am I going to do with 100,000? I need 500. So one of the things I learned was that you never go broke taking a profit, right? So if you take a profit, it adds up. Whether you're trying to make 100,000, if you make 10,000 10 times, you make 5,000 20 times, it all adds up to get you there. So that was one of the things I learned. I learned to have some protection on my account, right? You want to live to trade another day. You never want to just go all in to where if the thing goes wrong, you're out of the game. I was just over leveraged. Some things I talk about in my book is having an I'm wrong level. So you believe a stock or a chart is going to go this way. Maybe the same thing in life and in business. But if you're wrong, at what point are you going to abort the mission and save yourself? Like I went down with the ship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I went flat broke, had to move back home. There was a certain point where I should have just pulled the lever and said, you know what, this trade isn't going in my favor. I think I doubled down on it. I added more. I'm like, I got to be right. I started hoping, praying it goes back up. And I realized hope and prayer just has, I get it. Christians will say pray about it. But, in business and in the stock market, God is on both sides, right? Two people are
Yeah.
God fearing. There's no leverage there for the deal to go your way. That has nothing to do with it. You got to be able to read charts, analyze risks, do your research, and also live the trade or invest another day. And those are just some of the principles I didn't go in with. I just went in with, I'm about to make $500,000. Never thought what would happen if I lose $250,000, which is most of my account. Never crossed my mind, Pete.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I bet that was a terrible, terrible time.
It's funny. It was a terrible time, but I wouldn't change it because as I rebuilt coming out of that, I wouldn't have the business today. I wouldn't have the book today. I wouldn't have rebuilt my account like it was today with the right principles and structures. But at the time, I was not sitting there thinking, I'm going to build a company and teach people someday. Right at the time, I was like, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? You're not smart. You knew you couldn't all the negative talk came in at that time. But thank God I was listening to also some of those personal development, motivational speakers and going to seminars. And you know, that helped me get through and start thinking about it differently. I even said, you know, it's either going to be a hell of a comeback story or it's going to make a great book someday, or it's going to be a hell of a time trying. Like I got that from that positive thinking. And so it helped me get through. And sure enough, sometimes that's what you need when you're down in the dumps, man. Like that's all you got left is your health and your mindset and hopefully somebody that loves you. But those are the things that are super valuable when you're down and out, but there are also the things that are super valuable when you're not down and out because you don't realize sometimes how valuable that is till you don't have money, you don't have status, and you're left with what's really important: your health, your mindset, and those people around you that love you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about that journey, building an eight-figure education brand on top of being a trader. How long did it take to start getting traction and your community really taking off?
When I look back on it, the first 2 years, I was just documenting my journey. I was really just a blogger, if you will. I did, like I said, I didn't wake up and say like, I'm going to build a business. I bought a domain name, the Brown Report, and I was like, it's my report on my life and what I'm finding in the stock market and how I'm rebuilding this account. Never was I like, how do I monetize this? And I just was like, oh, people have a blog. I'm gonna start a blog. That was the thing. So I just started a blog, and then I said, I'll do video with it, and I'll put videos on the blog. So it's vlogging. I'll have a video blog. That was like the first 2 years, just blogging, just sharing, doing the little local seminars. I was doing them out of Starbucks. I was doing them out of the back of not Panera Bread, I'm sorry, the Microsoft store at Somerset Mall. I did some of the seminars out of the public library. Anywhere that would give me free space. It's how the first 2 years started. It wasn't until about year three that, I had this following and people were asking like for more of a structured course. And I'm like, I got to buy a camera, like a better camera than the webcam. I ordered like this green screen. I'm like, okay, this is starting to cost me money. So I started to charge like $10 for the little seminars just to offset some of the costs. We were bringing food to them. But again, never was I thinking I was trying to build a business. One day, what happened was I took one of the local seminars I did, and people couldn't make it because of a storm, and then one I had to cancel. So I said I'll upload it online. I uploaded it to a platform called Udemy, which I think they just got bought out by somebody, but it used to be Udemy. Maybe they're still around. And I remember like 500 people enrolled in the course. And I was like, whoa, because I made it for free. I didn't even charge. It was just free. Like 500 people enrolled. Then people were like, this sucks. The audio is bad. We can't hear. We can't see what he's talking. And I'm like, that's because it was a live seminar. And I just set a microphone in the middle of the room. I had like a Yeti that I just set in the middle of the room. I was walking around, but I had the thing recording my screen the whole time. So they couldn't see me. They couldn't see the people. I mean, I just was recording it just for the hell of it, not just thinking I'm going to upload it. But what happened was a light bulb moment went off for me. I was like, if 500 people registered, they're interested in the topic. They just want a quality version of it. I was like, okay, I'm going to record it, do a quality version, and I'm going to see if people will buy it. I think I re-recorded it, uploaded the quality version, and it was like $50. Nobody bought it. It was $100. I was like, 50 off. Nobody bought it.
Yeah.
I thought, this is interesting. 500 people registered, said they want quality. I record the quality one, upload it for 100, 50% off discount. Nobody buys it. And then insert the third skill. I realized, I was like, I got to learn how to sell online. Because I was like, I learned how to record a good product. I know people are interested in the stock market, but they're not buying. Now I have to learn how to sell online. And that was really like the last piece to the puzzle. It's like, how do I sell this to strangers online? And that's when I really started learning about funnels and landing pages and explaining stuff. And people being able to trust you to put their credit card in online. I mean, I think now everybody's willing to put their credit card in online, but back then it's like you got to have a secure server license. You want to make sure that lock is at the top of the page so people trust you. And like, what's your refund? Like, I really started going down this rabbit hole of learning internet marketing, which I had no plan on learning, but I had this course and I knew people wanted it. I'm like, I bought all this equipment and recorded it. Somebody better buy it. And that really just took me down a path of learning about Facebook ads, YouTube ads, funnels, retargeting people, all kind of stuff. So it's like I learned a whole new skill set that I didn't even set out to learn from doing this. And then we went from that to, we had a Facebook group, and then people was like, we don't use Facebook. We're boycotting them. So I'm like, okay, I need my own platform because I can't rely on Facebook. So then I started researching, how do you build a custom platform and how do you block the membership if they pay and don't pay? And then I went down this whole rabbit hole, and then there was certain softwares, but none of them were perfect. So then I'm like, how do you get a developer? How do you know you could trust the developer and they won't screw you? So I did, just went down this whole world of outsourcing, hiring developers out of the country, how to protect yourself, how to make sure it's your intellectual property, non-disclosures, all kind of stuff. It just, each moment just kept forcing me down a new path to learn a new skill that inevitably turned out to be the Brown Report. But then I was like, what if I get hit by a bus? The Brown Report is Jason Brown. And then if I wanted to sell, nobody wants to buy the Brown Report because their last name isn't Brown. So then I was like, well, somebody was like, well, what kind of trader are you? A day trader? Are you a swing trader? I was like, I'm an option trader. I'm a power trader. We put a lot of power behind our trades with options. So then I had thought, Power Trades University. So then I create a whole new website, a whole new brand, because I wanted to separate me from the actual business if I ever wanted to sell it or bring in other teachers, coaches. So then Power Trades University was born. So that's why there's two brands. The Brown Report is more like my personal brand. And then Power Trades University is our online stock market education platform. So it's just a constant evolution of trial and error, and then listening to what the market wanted, and then also paying attention to, the structure and setup at every turn of the journey.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Figure it out as you go, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And you let passion guide you. You let your drive for excellence drive you, right? Because at every piece, I just want it to be good. When someone was like, this sucks, the audio's bad. I'm like, I'm going to buy one of those $300 microphones. And then it's like, the camera quality's bad. I'm like, I'm going to get one of those really nice cameras. Right. And so I've always been like that. I was like, all right, let's step it up. Even now, I mean, I'm talking to you on a $1,300 camera, $400 mic. Like, I'm always like, how do I improve this? How do I make it a little bit better?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to talk kind of tactics. When you invest, what are some of the things that you look for, you prioritize?
Primarily the chart. First thing I look at is the chart. I'm a technician. I do technical analysis. So I like to look at the chart. The chart tells me about 80 to 90% of what I need to know about a stock, a trade, an investment. The other 10 to 20% is the story of why. I don't want the story first. I want to see the chart. If the stock is down, now I want to go understand, why is it down? Did they miss earnings? Is there a new competitor on the block? But the chart will tell me that things aren't going well. And if the stock's booming, the chart will tell me, then I'll go look at the story and say, well, why is it booming? Is it because of AI? Is it because of chips? Is it because of interest rates? Is it because of this? But the chart will tell you almost everything you need to know about a stock. I've had conversations with people, and I was like, they're either about to do layoffs or your company's about to go out of business. And they're like, no, we're not. We're doing good. I'm like, the stock is at this price and it's going this. I'm like, the closer it gets to zero, y'all about to go out of business. No, the stock's cheap. See, and sure enough, almost 2 months later, I remember Circuit City. I remember a couple different companies where they started announcing layoffs and then they were going out of business. And I'm like, the chart tell you everything you need to know. So that's the first place I start, with just looking at the chart. And then I back up what I'm seeing with fundamental analysis and what's the story behind it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the SpaceX IPO? Did you personally, have you invested yet? Remarket
Absolutely
or
not.
where
Absolutely
do you see it
not.
going?
So when we invest, my investment thesis, first of all, I'm a trader. So investors are looking at fundamental, long term, where it's going to be. As a trader, I'm looking at where's the momentum at in the next 30, 60, 90 days, 12 months. And so typically what that involves is having some type of history. And IPOs don't have history yet. So we look for what we call PRPs in our program, predictable, repeatable patterns. Well, if it hasn't been trading for, it hasn't even been 3 months. They haven't even had their first quarterly earnings. There is no predictable, repeatable pattern. And so I don't trade stocks that don't have a predictable, repeatable pattern. They don't have an established investor base yet. It's just, that's not in my wheelhouse. And it typically doesn't work out. If you look at all the major IPOs, you can even go back to Facebook. You could look at, I think, Google. Look at all of the major IPOs. They have a history of shooting up for the first 2, 3 days and then crashing almost immediately. Now, long term, did Facebook go from $20 to being a multi-billion-dollar company and go all the way up to $600? Sure. Same with Google. Did it go up and split eventually? Yes. But on IPO week, if you will, they all have a history of being up the first 2, 3 days, maybe the first month, and then just turn around and crashing and burning before they kind of establish a committed customer base and trading base and investment base. So I typically like to wait for that predictable, repeatable pattern, couple earnings to come out, and then I'll say, now's the time to take a look at this company.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes sense. Awesome. And we touched a bit about it earlier about your book, the 5-Year Millionaire Roadmap. Do you mind sharing some of the main through lines from that book? Maybe some takeaways, not just for investors, but also just business owners in general.
Yeah, couple takeaways is like I said, there's a chapter called You Never Go Broke Taking a Profit. So whether you're investing, whether you're running a business, like you help people exit their businesses, sometimes you got to know when it's time to hang it up, when it's time to take a profit, when your business is doing well and it's time to exit, pass it to somebody else. A lot of people hold on to stuff too long. That includes stocks. They watch a stock go all the way up and then they watch it come all the way back down. And then they say stuff like, I should have sold. I wish I would have. It's just like, why didn't you? Right. But there's a part of you that has what we talk about in the book, fear and greed. There's this fear that I'm missing out. I'm missing out. I'm scared. And there's this greed like, oh, how much higher can it go? And so you're always battling fear and greed, whether you're investing, whether you're in real estate, whether you have a business. And so the book is about emotion, how to control your emotions when you're handling business, when you're handling investments. It's about my personal story of making that 250,000, being broke, and building my way back. So it's about mindset and resilience. It's not, yes, it's about how to make $1 million, but I talk a lot about you have to become a millionaire. It's who you have to become mentally and psychologically, how you think before you can unlock $1 million. And I share my path to building it back and becoming a millionaire and how anybody can do that using options trading. And if you can earn 10% a month, starting with about $5,000, you could have $1.2 million in 5 years. But it takes a ton of discipline, it takes knowledge, and it takes emotional and mental maturity to unlock those riches. So that's a little bit about what 5-Year Millionaire is about.
Yeah, I love it. What's the single biggest mindset shift you'd say separates from the ones who make it and the ones who quit?
In the stock market or just in life?
Let's go with life.
I think belief. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. If you don't, it's very hard to make it through the ups, the downs, the tough times, right? But if you believe in what you're doing, you'll run through a brick wall, right? If you're passionate about the cause, if you believe that you are the person that's meant to do this, called to do this, God dropped that gift in your lap, not somebody else's, to see it through. You're gonna do whatever you can when your belief is strong. There's a song by John Mayer that says, it's called Belief, but I remember the verse goes something like, I think it said, what can put 1,000 men in the sand? Belief can. He was basically talking about people going to war, fighting for their people will die if they believe they're doing the right thing, for whether it's for their country, for their family. And that same belief is like, when you got belief, it's almost nothing you can't overcome, or nothing you won't learn. No person you won't talk to, resource you won't approach to hit your goal. So I think that's one of the key differentiators in life. The person who believes will definitely outperform the one who doesn't. In the stock market, it's about taking calculated risks and controlling your emotions. People come in here and they treat it like a Las Vegas casino table, a crap table, and they're not looking at probability and statistics of trades or investments. They're just like, Apple sounds good. I heard Nvidia's doing well. They're not looking at probability and statistics. And then, like I said, they're not controlling their emotions. When they're down, they want to gamble, they want to double down or go back up. If they lose their $500, they're sick about it. That's why I don't trade. They don't understand, like, losing is a part of it. It's just, you can't lose more than you make, but losing is a part of it. It would be like driving a car, and the first time you get a flat tire or an accident, you're like, I'll never drive again. That's it. I'm catching the bus from here on out. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Catching a flat tire is part of it. Getting the oil change is part of it. Getting into your first fender bender, it's all part of it. It doesn't mean life isn't better for having a car. So it's the same with the stock market. Yes, some people blow up their account. Yes, you can lose some money, but for the most part, life is better when you have some type of investments, because all roads lead to it. Whether it's your 401k, whether you have a business and you exit it, you typically are putting that money in the stock market so you can live off of it. So all roads lead to it. I heard this saying once that I think 90% of the world is water, so you might want to learn how to swim. Well, all roads lead to the stock market as far as retirement, your 401k, your Roth IRA, you putting money away from your kids' tuition, pension. So you might want to learn how this industry works at some point.
Yeah. Well said. Awesome. Yeah, we'll switch tracks here, go a little bit deeper on AI. I know on the pre-show you talked about you're building some tools. I'd love to hear, how are you leveraging AI today, and where do you see it affecting your industry the most?
Yeah. So AI for me, I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm always interested in pushing the envelope, and I'm very curious. What AI has done for me has allowed me to unlock some of that curiosity and that genius and those dreams and make them real. So I would say stuff like, man, wouldn't it be cool? Like, we built like a financial modeling options calculator, but it was in a spreadsheet. And because people would take a trade and they were like, I don't know where my break is. So we built this big spreadsheet so you could put the stock in, the price you're buying, all this stuff. But I was like, man, what if we could like build an app for that? What if we could build it and embed it on our site, and our members could take it with them everywhere they go? Then it spit out a digital version and they could print it if they want. Before, I was like, well, how much would that cost? We got to outsource it to India. Then when we need updates, it breaks. Like, but AI now, it's like, I'm like, oh, here's the spreadsheet. Here's how we do it. I want it to look like now I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I can actually bring to life some of these cool tools and things that I think would help our traders at a reasonable price, without saying, if we build it, we got to charge 10,000 for it. So then now it's out of the reach of the masses, but it's really allowing me to dream and build things that I think will help investors, help traders. Some of most people start off doing this stuff part-time, so they're at work. So I'm like, gosh, one of the issues I had when I was at work was speed of research, speed of information. And so we built like a stock market research agent. And here's the thing, anybody can build these tools. The difference is, if you're not a trader or an investor, you don't know how to build it for investors. You don't know what you're looking for. You don't know how to parse through the data. And so that's what makes it different for me. It's not that my chat GPT is better, my Claude is better, but I'm thinking and dreaming of all the stuff I wish I had as an investor, as a trader over the last 20 years. And that's what make what I build in the app different from somebody else coming and say, I'm just going to build an options calculator or a financial research tool. It's like, sure. Do you know what to research? Do you know what's important? Do you know what's not important? Do you know how to structure that data so regular people can understand it? That's where I'm just having a ton of fun with AI and building and rolling out tools for our members. So we built like a stock market research agent, an options financial calculator. We
Nice.
have a 5-year millionaire calculator, which is like, I got this much money. How much would I need and what type of trades do I need to take to try to grow it to 1 million in 5 years? There's just so much cool stuff that we're working on. We actually got a couple other things that we're building. We want to build an option suggester. So you give us the stock, and I want to build it to where if you upload a picture of the chart, it'll apply our analysis to the chart and give you 6 different option strategies to trade or play on it. So there's so much that's available with the power of AI that before would have cost us too much to even think about exploring.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Have you found the recent updates this year? I think it was February with Claude, co-work and coding. Has that enabled you as a business owner to be able to offer all these different tools?
Everybody talks about Claude. I still like ChatGPT the best. I'm not really sure why everybody loves Claude so much with all the usage restrictions and all that. But ChatGPT is killing it for me. And then I use Codex, which is a version of ChatGPT's Claude code, if you will. Codex is
Okay.
just beast mode for me. I really love it. But I'm sure some people like Claude. It does some stuff. I use Google's Notebook LM, which is really cool for doing some interesting stuff with studying. I was studying for a test and uploading my stuff to Notebook LM, creating quizzes and flashcards for
Okay.
myself. I mean, gosh, there is no one tool. I recommend people test them all, but my go-to is ChatGPT and Codex. So
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's all Claude these days, but yeah,
I don't know
it,
why. I tried Claude and I was like, this is not better or it's not that much different. In fact, in some cases, it was worse. And I just didn't know what the hype was about. But I've also learned from being in the stock market, I ignore most of the news because news is hype. A lot of news is negative. A lot of news is just, okay, this is what people want to hear. Let's hype it up. It's the same thing with the internet. This new release of Claude Code is going to kill ChatGPT, or like this new update is over for, it's like, no, it's not. And the update wasn't even that great. Like, but people are sensationalizing everything. And so you got to just take some of the stuff with a grain of salt because everybody's looking for clicks, and clickbaity titles. And so this is the Chat GPT killer, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So, everything works and nothing works. You got to test them all, see what works best for you, and then ignore the noise.
yeah. Yeah. I agree. It's awesome, Jason. Been a great conversation. I got one final question for you.
Let's do it.
If you could pick one practical tip for business owners wanting to succeed in the long term, what would it be?
I would say run your business like a Fortune 500 company from day one. And don't confuse that with you have to spend Fortune 500 money. What I mean is pay $20 a month and get QuickBooks and just make sure your books are kept, right? Just something that simple. You might not have a full accounting department and CPAs, but you can act as if you're a Fortune 500 company just by adding QuickBooks to keep your books. Pay your taxes. So many people get in trouble with making a ton of money. They go buy a car, they go shopping, they don't really set any aside for taxes. Think like a Fortune 500 company. Guess what they have? A marketing budget. I can't tell you how many people, like I might spend some months I spend 3 grand a month just to test stuff. Meaning I don't expect any return back. I don't expect any sales. I just expect data, information. I know other people who are like, if I spend 1,000 on Facebook ads or this, like I have to make $1,000 if I don't. And I'm like, that is not how companies work. They have a research and development budget. They have a marketing budget. I'm not saying your marketing budget has to be $500,000 or $3 million for a Super Bowl commercial. But if you're telling me you don't have $300 to spend $5 a day on Facebook and $5 a day on Google, That's 150 per platform, $300 just to test some ads. You're not thinking about running this like a business. You're running it like a self-employed, or you're running it like a hobbyist. And so businesses who want to succeed long term, just start thinking about how you can run it like a real business from day one. Get an LLC. Like, start, like, don't just don't you got to get out of side hustle mentality and, like, I'm going to keep everything under the table so I don't have to pay taxes. It's like, then how are you ever going to build business credit if you don't want to pay taxes? You want to get paid in cash, you want to hide everything under the table. So, like, just come out the gate, be a real treat it like a real business from day one. That would be my advice.
Yeah. Wow, you got some good advice, Jason. I appreciate your time. Where can listeners find you and your book and your business, Power Trades University? Where's the best place?
Yeah, the best place to find me is thebrownreport.com. From there, you can check out Power Trades University. From there, you get access to our YouTube channel. From there, my LinkedIn is there. The book 5-Year Millionaire is sold everywhere books are sold: Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Amazon, you name it, all the major bookstores. I think Target. It's sold everywhere books are sold. But if you go to thebrownreport.com, you also can click out to the various links for the book as well. So I appreciate you having me. TheBrownReport.com, The Brown Report on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. That's me.
Jason, I'll leave that in the show notes. Thanks for your time today. It's great talking to you.
Pete, I appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Exit algorithms. Scale smarter. Sell stronger.